Hi everyone, I have a Neuroscience of Awareness blog, and today I'm going to talk about how to have a frame of reference that will change your point of view. I'll do a short video and then I'll do a longer one next week. And it's about coming from fear versus what's the other side. So it depends on where you're coming from. So there's this quote, every decision is made in either love or fear. That's from one book. There's also something called the Conscious Leadership Institute, and they say how leaders make either decisions in love or fear. And what I would say, kind of framing that from a neurobiology framework, is you can make decisions in fear, which I say is like here, or you can just turn your gaze and you can make decisions based on needs. So fear is more your reactive brain, and looking at needs is more the response flexibility that we're coming from. So let me just name a couple example of needs, and then I'm going to go into it more in the next video. But there can be so what you're doing is you're listening to the unmet needs of a person who, if you were more in the reactive part of your brain, you would feel threatened. So here's some examples. I'm just going to think of it off the top of my head. You might have, what you want to do is you want to write down the sort of behavior patterns that people do that annoy you, and then you want to think of the unmet needs. This will help you a lot. So then when that behavior happens, it may frame your whole relationship with that person, with yourself, with how you see yourself. So one example is, I know people who meta comment. So like if I'm in a group, some people, they won't really talk about themselves. They'll kind of just comment about other people. And, you know, I'm all about kind of being reflective inside and maybe using I statements instead of kind of going in onto someone else's territory. But I might think, what is the unmet need of that person? And sometimes I think what happens is people have a need to be seen, and they have a need to be heard, and they need to connect. And they also have a need to make a contribution. And all those things can be going on. And what can happen is it can be too scary for a person to reveal personal things about themselves. So it's just safer to go and look at someone else. So if you see that this person has unmet needs, and they say in this nonviolent communication where you look at needs and feelings, you look at people and what they're doing, and you just think of what they're feeling and what they're needing. So when you're coming from a needs place, that's another way to do it. Another thing is if someone criticizes you, you could just think, what's going on with them? You know, do they have a need for sleep? Are they hungry? You know, sometimes people, they have a need for autonomy. They need to have space to make their own decisions. Sometimes you don't know what's going on with them. They have a need to connect. They have a need for love. They have a need for attention. They have a need for affection. And what in this nonviolent communication that I'm talking about, what will happen is people will say please or thank you in either suicidal ways. So they're saying, please, I have a need for attention, but the only way that they know to do it is, like, for example, to put you down or to make an insult. And I know some people may say it's crazy to use this mindset that you're letting people behave in ways that they shouldn't. But what I'm saying is that probably that person is going to continue to engage in that behavior no matter what you think or say or do. So why not, in your own nervous system, stay in a place of regulation and listen with giraffe ears for the unmet needs of the person. And what it does is it just keeps you in a more compassionate place. So what that relates to is I have that 3-circle theory of emotions that I really like, that I've been showing on this blog. One is the threat system, one is the drive system, and one is the soothing system. So when you think of needs, what it does is it keeps you in the soothing system, that pro-social behavior, and it helps integrate the brain. When you do compassion for yourself and for others, what it does is it actually sends GABA-goo down to the amygdala, and it calms it down, and it gives you extra access to executive function, which is thinking about thinking. So focusing on needs and developing a needs vocabulary is just another way to grow your emotional intelligence. And I'll give more examples next week.